Would you rather cut off your own foot or be forced to play Monopoly at a family game night? I'm so long foot, that's all I'm saying. I saw Spiral from the Book of Saul. What does that mean? What does that title mean? I don't know. It's never explained. I don't think anyone who made this movie really knows. It will be one of life's greatest mysteries. So we have rebooted the Saw franchise for, I guess, now the second time. I didn't see the last movie. I heard it's supposed to be kind of like a reboot, but didn't really. I don't think it did well. So now we are back. We've got Chris Rock kind of producing, starring. We got Darren Lynn Bozeman, who used to direct some of the older Saw movies. He's back. What could go wrong? I'll tell you, you know, a little bit could go wrong. This movie, we pick up, I guess, a few years after all the Jigsaw killings. Not sure really where, if this is the town it happened in. I don't know. It's very vague in that regard. So you have Chris Rock. He is a detective. He turned in a dirty cop years ago, so he's not really liked by a lot of the people that he works with. But then those people start to get trapped in these gross, nasty death traps and killed. There's all these riddles. That's what's interesting. I think the most interesting thing about this is it puts the viewer and the protagonist kind of like they're trying to figure all this out. And I know it's kind of been done before in some of the Saw movies, but like I think like the whole time you know that like nothing probably bad's gonna happen to Chris Rock. I mean, they gotta start a franchise. So it's nice to kind of see that perspective. It was cool to see, okay, someone is being tasked with figuring everything out before all these cops die. Chris Rock is is great. He's Chris Rock sometimes, he's this dramatic actor sometimes. And so he really rides that line of like, you like him, you don't like him sometimes, you understand where he's coming from, you feel for the guy. There's some dramatic moments in here for him, and you just believe him. I think that's one of my biggest worries is like, am I gonna believe that Chris Rock isn't is a cop in the Saul universe? And you know what? I did. It was nice. Sam Jackson's good. He's good. He's pretty much Sam Jackson. And everyone else, it kind of feels like a stereotype of like a movie stereotype of a cop or a different cops. You got the cat. Like there's one scene where like there's just so much screaming in like in the police like department. Like there's just like the captain's yelling, Chris Rock's yelling, the other cops are yelling. There's a heat wave going on. Like you almost laugh at some of the performances because they're just like so over the top of like over the cop top. They're like turn in your badge and your gun. You're out of here. Like you don't want to work with a partner. You're working with a partner now. It works and it doesn't work for me. I talked about the heat wave, and that takes me to like my biggest complaint about this is that this movie could have done so much. Could have, I mean, just hit the nails right on the heads. And it's like of what's happening right now in our country, in our world, like everything. It's just like this movie could have said something. And it kind of does, but that to me, for a Saw movie, a movie where you've seen people like get their fingers ripped off and get like have to like cut off their own arms or seen people just be mutilated. The one time that it doesn't go far enough is in the most crucial element, like the story and the message. This movie, it it's supposed to say something a little bit. And again, you don't want to like sympathize with a murderer, but like that's what makes it a little bit like a little enjoyable that you're like, oh, I mean, like, yeah, Jigsaw is a terrible person, but also he's giving them a second chance to like really appreciate their life. And so it's just like this movie is conflicted in that sense that like, yes, it's killing corrupt cops, but at the same time, like by the end of it, I'm confused on what it's saying. I'm confused on what's really not happening, but what it's trying to say. And believe me, the movie tries to just walk out and be like, this is what we're saying. Why didn't they go further? Why didn't like and this is an issue that can be fixed structurally, like or even like just changing a little bit. You keep all the same things in there, but you just the execution of it was just it's a little frustrating because you're like, Man, here we are. We have this chance to revive a franchise, really say something, give Chris Rock a dramatic performance, and we only did like one and a half of those things. I think there will probably be more of these movies, but also I don't know where they go from here. And I don't, by the end of it, you're like, huh, okay. One, it's easy to call who the bad guy, like who the killer is. The traps are interesting. They fit for what the purpose of the game is supposed to be. But and you're like, okay, yeah, I get it. But also it keeps selling itself as Saul, like this, oh, this is like the new Saul. But it doesn't I feel like it doesn't give enough like nod to the old ones. And again, I'm not asking for like John Kramer to show up. I'm not asking for Tobin Bell to show up and be like, "Woo, Saul!" Right? There's a reason why there's like 10 of these movies almost, and this movie kind of plays it like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Jigsaw Killer, that was real scary. This a copycat? Probably. Yeah, yeah. This could have been. They could have set this in the Seven universe and done a movie like that, and it would be the same movie, but with like seven. I don't know. It's like I just think this movie is just a lot of like wasted opportunity. Hey, but you know what? The traps still gross, still cool. No, not cool. What's a bad word for it? Chris Rock's great. This movie flies, and then the 21 Savage spiral song at the end. My three favorite parts of this movie. I give it like I give this movie like a I guess six. There are enjoyable moments. It is a nice kind of mystery thriller. But then when you start to think about it and how everything doesn't add up or line up, you're like, "Oh, I mean, it's good. This is a nice way to kill an hour and a half." But man, it could have been so great. I really wanted this movie to just like blow me away. And I think at first I was really into it, and then it just like much like the cops yelling, just something just sucks the life out of it. And I'm like, I kind of wanted it to be more. I kind of wanted it to go further. I think that this is a new era of movies that probably don't need rap songs at the end of them, like themed rap songs. But you know what? I think that they all need them now. So like, you know, Ben Affleck's next movie, put one in. Fincher's next movie, put one in. Surprised you didn't have one for me.
Un esercito di pro